dry season because we've had a problem in summers where we've also had to go out and buy water from other agencies.
Further council discussion or direction?
Well, hearing no objection from staff about proceeding along the line suggested by Councilmember Crane, I would suggest that might be the appropriate direction.
And so that will be the assumption of staff, or do we need a motion?
I think it could be by consensus unless anyone objects.
Well, and if we discover that there is some timeline issue, for instance, on the Gobi site, because we are in design of that for the electrical utility, if we have some conflict, we'll come back and discuss that with council. But we will move ahead to have the meeting and then to proceed with the testing of the RANI and collect with our staff if there's any other concerns about some immediate need to drill a well.
Councilmember Crane?
Regarding the substation, I suspect that having that design complete so that we know what ground is left would be an important feature as well.
So it's clear to staff what is expected. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 10C, receive and consider status report on the development of the skate park at Low Gap Regional Park.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Sage San Giacomo, Director of Community Services. Guy Mills, our project and grant manager, will be giving the initial presentation.
I think so.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. As requested at the November 5th City Council meeting by Mr. Councilmember McGowan, requesting an update, a monthly update on the skate park process. This is the first update in that process. Since that time, we have been able to make some good leeway. The skate park committee is working on two fronts, design elements with our architect as well as the fundraising. So in front of you is a colorful conceptual design of the park, and as we're working through the different elements with the skate park committee itself, and we'll be working with the adjoining neighbors to come up with the best design. The actual skate park, the elements, the concrete structure has not been completely defined. The group will get together and kind of define those elements, but it will still contain the beginner, intermediate, and more advanced bowl setting and being friendly with the neighborhood and where we're placing those. So I present to you that in color versus the black and white copy. Since this time, we have had good news. The Tony Hawk Foundation has awarded the Skate Park Committee a $10,000 grant. So we will be accepting that and presenting that to council when we get the conditions of that grant. It doesn't seem like there'll be anything out of the ordinary there, but so 10,000, it will be very helpful. We are beginning the CEQA review, working with the planning department to begin that process. And we'll undertake that. We're also starting the site development, working with the architect to design the conceptual, the landscape plan to bring those elements to fruition as well.
What was the name of the foundation again that we got the grant from? Tony
Hawk. Mm. He's probably the most famous skateboarder.
Of course.
Yes.
She knows
it's
that.
new to me too.
She knows that.
No. So this is our element, or my report. Again, it's the committee is very excited to be moving forward with this. We will be working on, after the holidays, they're designing a theme, a campaign to interact the community, to kind of, you know, at the Leslie Street Perkins, we kind of had the railroad theme. They're kind of reinventing themselves here to figure out what's the theme at this park and how they'll incorporate that, and that'll go into their fundraising, their donor wall, et cetera, kind of the history there.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, Mr. Mills, how are we doing with the community reaction? I see that you're talking to people. Is it going fairly smoothly at this point?
Yes, there was one article in the paper, but I have not had any direct phone calls against the project. You know, we've had some support at the last meeting from the Players Theater, and we will honor those commitments. And working with them, Justin Capri is going to work with the Players Theater, and they kind of had at one of our meetings, kind of a meeting of the minds regarding the parking. So we're going to continue that investigation and seeing how we can kind of segregate the parking somewhat, so there's kind of defined areas. But other than that, there has been, you know, when is this thing going to get built, as I've talked to the community.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd like to address that a moment. I have not had an opportunity to meet with the school superintendent, and she and I are going to meet and discuss some of the school district's concerns, but we're not hearing, so far I haven't heard a concern that we could not address with them. We just haven't had a chance to have an opportunity to have that meeting.
It looks like John McCowan is on the verge of making a comment.
Well, the staff report, I'm actually happy to see it say that at our November 5th meeting, we approved the Low Gap Regional Park as the site for Ukiah's first skate park, and I think we were a little bit more tentative than that, but I would like to see the council make a commitment that this is the site. That's not quite on the agenda for tonight, but I would hope that at the next update at the second meeting in January, that it would be on the agenda for the council to give clear direction that, barring any unforeseen complications, that this is clearly the site we're moving forward on.
Policing, I am a little concerned about protection of the tennis courts, as I'm one of the top 50 tennis players in the county. In my age group.
Is that because
in my
there's
age group.
Well, I thought it might be because
I'm concerned about the tennis courts and the restroom planned. How will we protect not only the restroom, the tennis courts, but also the creek? Is that doable?
In regards to the creek, we're going to stay away from that creek bank as far as we can. You know, we'll still be working through that, and in my understanding, that's where the sequel will come through. And when the site development, that'll also trigger the Fish and Game's interest. We do have a local Fish and Game representative at Lake County, so that we can make that contact. But my understanding is through that process, those will start. So we're very aware of where the creek is, and purposely going to try to stay back as far away from that bank as we can. The creek the bank kind of drops off and then flattens out again, and then it drops off into the creek. So
I know there was some concern that if it is packed, if it's as successful as I'm sure the advocates have wanted it to be, there would be an overflow crowd onto the tennis courts. We own the land where the tennis courts are, but they are maintained by the county. Is that true?
it's city-owned property leased to the county of Mendocino.
And you will note in the ESR that we still have, we need to enter into some discussions with the county with regard to the maintenance and tennis courts and other items.
And the other concern would simply be overflow, people who couldn't get on that, would that overflow have a negative impact itself on the flowing stream of Ore Creek? Hopefully not. So those are some of my concerns, even though I would support the siting. Is there public comment at this time? Further discussion by the council? This is to receive a report. No further discussion? Thank you very much.